So how did Yada Bank idea come up?
So after I tested some of these other ideas, again, I built the prototype for the punctual thing. And basically, again, I was always very interested in finance. I was in it, and I've always been super into behavioral psychology. So I don't know if you're familiar with books like Nudge, Thinking Fast and Slow. And so when I came across the statistics about how Americans spend $80 billion a year on the lottery, which, by the way, is the worst gamble you can make. You can go down to the Strip in Vegas, play blackjack, craps. People give you crap about it. You're only losing 2 to 5%, like expected value. The lottery, you're losing like 60%. People spend $80 billion on that. That's $700 per household. At the same time, half the country doesn't have emergency savings. And so a lot of people are playing the lottery who struggle to save. And so the idea basically was, and I saw this, there's a program in the UK that's basically what Yada is, run by the government. Putting it a little bit too simplified, but yeah, it's huge there. And so I saw this opportunity to do it in the US. So ultimately I was like, okay, why is this thing so successful in the UK, but not here when we have this problem of savings and lottery playing? And it's been successful in lots of countries. So I just started doing research on it, as I always start out doing. Turns out it was kind of illegal here until 2015. It's a relatively new opportunity. Just the way the gambling laws were written wasn't like they said savings with a sweepstakes lottery element attached to it is illegal. It just would have been a gray area with gambling because of the way, for gambling to be gambling, there has to be a prize. So there's a prize and you have to give up consideration to like participate.
Just money.
Yeah. So consideration, the definition, is it paying for something? Is it doing something? Is it depositing money? Like, is that consideration? Like, I don't know.
Right.
And so in 2015, they carved out a law that basically said this thing, prize-linked savings, is okay. Again, more nuanced than that.
Why did they carve out a law? Because to do that, there must have been an issue and someone fighting it. Who fought that?
Academics. So there's a lot of evidence from programs in South Africa, New Zealand, UK, that this actually really helps people. This idea of combining a savings account with lottery type upside instead of just boring tiny interest payments helps people save more money, which is good for society. Generally speaking, it's, you still need people to spend, but for the economy. But
so they changed that, expecting that a business was now going to arise that would do that.
Possibly, yeah. So basically what happened was there was in Michigan, I don't know the exact legal details here, but they ran a pilot program in like 2010 called Save to Win. And by they, I think it was an academically run thing. And they proved over a couple of years of that program that it was also helping people save. And so I believe they went to whoever, I don't know, they lobbied whoever to say, hey, this is actually very good for people. We have a savings problem in America. The only downside, literally like the only downside to this is the lot. Like if this works and takes off, like does it take away from the lottery? And like most people agree that the lottery is generally a tax, like it's a regressive tax, a tax on the poor. And so the problem with the lottery, not only is it horrible, it's monopolized by the government. Meaning, if lotteries were privatized, meaning anyone could do it, no company could get away with taking 60% cut on the lottery, right? You'd have competition, and it would probably be like blackjack or craps, where it'd be like, 2% you lose on average, right? Not 60.
Wait, so explain the lottery. I'm actually not familiar with this. Who runs it? Where does that money go? You say it's run by the government?
The states.
The state runs the... How is the state able to get away with that? And does that money go back into the community? Is that how they justify it? Like, hey, we're raising this money, putting it back into the... And how much... Do you know how much money goes into the community and how much money people are making at
roughly,
the top?
Off the top of my head, I'm going to get it a little bit wrong. But so for every dollar that goes... So first of all, 44 states legalized it. I think Utah, it doesn't have it. Some other states, I forget, like Alaska, Hawaii, something like that. Some of them don't have it because for whatever reason, they've said, we don't think this is bad for people or whatever. Sure. I don't know the origins of the lottery, but at some point, look, people are spending $80 billion a year. The government's taking, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's like meaningful revenue. So anytime the government's threatened by a revenue stream, like they're going to want to defend it. And the status quo is easier. If the lotteries didn't exist, it would be harder to say, hey, let's monopolize a system where people buy tickets for $2 and we're going to take whatever. People might push back, but because it's been a thing for so long, it's harder to, the inertia, it's tough to take it away. And so for every dollar that goes in the lottery, 6% goes to the convenience stores that sell it, roughly. I'm not sure the exact percent that goes like back to community programs. I mean, that's a big chunk of it.
Sure.
Like that's where it's going. Convenience stores, prizes, and then prizes to the people who buy the tickets, and then back to schools or like whatever. But the reality is, a lot of people playing the lottery are the same people that are like going to these public schools.
Yeah.
And so you're basically taking $1 out of their pocket, paying some convenience stores, and like redistributing it back to supposedly those people, probably inefficiently. Like my view is the government generally spends money less efficiently than individuals who know what they might want to spend it on, or private companies.
I did research on the lottery a while. This is probably 2 years ago. So I wish I had refreshed my my knowledge of this. But I remember something like it was an abnormally high amount of people who play the lottery are unemployed or have a income significantly below the poverty line. And those make up like 60% of people who play the lottery. Very few people who earn above like $70,000 a year play the lottery. I found that was very interesting.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I'm going to spend $10 a week on the lottery. Okay, you're thinking to yourself, okay, it's not that much. Like I'm just having some fun. And it's not, as long as it's not harmful to you. Right. But if you do over a year, that's $500. 30 years, it's $15,000. Maybe you could have been either saving in a high yield savings account at first and later on investing and earning 7% compounded. That's not 15,000 anymore. It's something much greater at that investment rate. But the psychology is like, what's $10 once a week? It feels like nothing.
Yeah.
And saving money is something that only pays off until it's too late, right? You had an injury and you need to pay a hospital bill. You should have been saving the last year, but you weren't because there was no instant payoff to it. The lottery gives you instant payoff, right? You have hope, you have excitement for that period of time. People are bad at doing things that are good for them in the long run, but tough in the short run. Yeah. So why isn't everyone eating broccoli all day, right? Like, why isn't everyone going to the gym every day?
Right.
Once you get sick, or once you know you should have been going to the gym, then you start. It's like the same type of thing. We're not good at like preventative, right?
Yeah. I do have to say though, part of the fun for me, because I play the lottery every now and then. And it's usually when it gets up to like a crazy amount, then I'll be like, all right, you know what, I'm going to throw like $20 and just see what happens. It is fun to, you get that little escape for, an hour or so where you think to yourself, what if I win? What would I spend the money on?
Agreed.
Everyone does that. You sit there and it's like, okay, I'm going to think about winning here. Where is it going to go? And you map it all out in your head.
Totally. And it's totally healthy. When you go to a sporting event, you're paying $100 for the ticket. There's no change. Like you're losing $100. You're having entertainment. You're paying $20 for entertainment. And as long as it's entertainment, that's fine. But when you think it's going to get you out of a poverty trap and that's like your investment strategy, that's when it's a problem.
Yeah.
Like if you can afford to lose the money, it's just entertainment.
Right. So you came up with this idea, Yada Bank, to solve this. It was legalized 2015. How do you go about actually starting up a company like that?
Yeah. So the first step, research, like, is this an opportunity, right? Once you figure out you think it's an opportunity, now you have to verify. At least that was my approach. So it vary one step at a time. So the first thing I did after, again, researching, looking at other things in the market, seeing like, why haven't they taken off? We were not the first. So you got to figure out why didn't they take off? So I talked to some users of other apps that existed, tried to figure out what they like, what didn't they like. Next step was try to come up with the actual concept, put up a landing page. So I recommend anyone do this that's thinking about an idea. Very cheap, very efficient. Put up a landing page that looks legit and have a wait list and make sure it communicates like your value proposition of like what you're going to build. Mm-hmm. Maybe even have a screen with the app that's just designed, right? Run ads to it. See if are people clicking through to it. Is the value proposition resonating with them? Are they willing to sign up for a wait list? And then we had a survey after they signed up for the wait list. We actually spoke to these people about this product that didn't exist, but we kind of pretended it existed or that we were working on it. Like, why'd you sign up? What interested you about this? So really trying to figure out, like, is there something here? It's easy to sign up for a wait list. So, I mean, still, there's degrees. Do 1% of people sign up? Do 15% who visit the page, right? Even better, if you have a product that people are going to pay for, can you get people to pay in advance for it? Or pre-commit, like, okay, once this is built, I will pay $20 per a t-shirt, like whatever it is.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's more buy-in. So we saw some pretty good results with running the ads to that page.
Why did the other apps fail?
Yeah, so the biggest one that before us was called Long Game. And it was too much of a gamey interface, in my opinion. Like, with our product, we wanted to make it very simple and to run in the background so that it could be appealing to a wide group of people. If you have to log in every day and spin virtual wheels and do all these things to win 5 cents, 2 cents, whatever, at some point, it's not a good return on like your time. Like, even though it's kind of fun to go in every day and to make 5 cents, like, it's too much effort. So we wanted to make it very simple. We wanted to have a big grand prize. They didn't have their grand prize was like $1,000. We thought having a grand prize was very, very important because half the value of the lottery, or pretty much all of it, is this idea you can dream big, and it's fun because you have the hope. So if you're only winning $100, $500 is the maximum prize, it's different.
Right.
And the other element was they were very non-social experiences. So these other apps would, again, you'd spin a virtual wheel. You do a lot of these things, and it was just you in your own environment. With us, we wanted to be similar to the lottery, where everyone has the same winning numbers, right? So midweek, you might be talking about it to each other. You're part of the same game. And so I think that makes people talk about it more, which helps with growth. And also, it makes it feel less rigged. It's like playing a slot machine, right? Sometimes you're like, oh, I wonder if it's just rigged against me. When you're spinning a virtual wheel, you're like, okay, like, are they just programming it to make me lose? For us, when you have your phone says the same numbers as your phone, says the same numbers as my phone, it's not rigged. Right.
Got it.
So those were some of the reasons.
Okay. So you created this app. What was the feedback like from the people who signed up on the wait list?
A lot excited. Yeah. I mean, they were like, a lot of them didn't even know high yield savings accounts were a thing.
Yeah.
And so this idea they could get more than 0.01% from Chase or Wells Fargo was exciting. And a lot of them were like lottery players.
How much did it cost to develop the app? Was it just you doing all of this on the back? Like, did you develop the whole thing, or did you like pay out?
At that time, it was just me. This was literally probably a little over 2 years ago. First step was not developing it. It was designing it. And part of that was also for the website. It was to like design the website. And a friend of mine who actually now works with us, awesome UI, UX designer, awesome developer. I just paid him to work with me on the initial concept. Hourly, paid him hourly. So the first step was designing the concept, not getting to development. And then I ended up outsourcing the development to an agency. And this was still, I was paying for this. It probably cost 10 to 25 grand early on of my own money. And you don't want to go straight to development, because if you're going to outsource development, you're going to get something, unless you have it very well defined, you're going to get something you don't expect. So you want to make sure you have everything very specced out. When you click this button, this is what happens. This is what the screen looks like. Don't leave anything to the imagination, because again, they're not incentivized to build a great product. They're incentivized to get paid by the hour. And so they're going to follow whatever instructions you give them, and they're probably going to code it not in the best way, but something that works. So we spent a lot of time writing a 10-page document saying, this is how everything's going to work for the initial prototype. Here's what it's going to look like. Now I can hand it over to you to develop. Simultaneously, we knew this type of idea was going to require money, because we had to partner with a bank. And banks, they spend a lot of time and investment to working with you. And so they don't want to work with someone who has no money, because are they going to be around in 6 months? And is it worth our effort? So while we were developing the app, and the designs help for this, went out, put together an investor deck, and raised from angels, friends, and family an initial fundraising round. That's for this idea, we needed to do that. Like for some ideas, you can do a lot more and build
bootstrap
something.
It yourself.
Yeah.
How much did you have to raise in the beginning? And how do you find a bank to partner with? What's that process like? And how much money do you need? Like, can I go and be like, hey, I got like $2 million. Let me bank with you.
If you were serious about it, and you could.
So wait, so you're saying so I could start my own bank, fund it myself with my own money.
Partner with a bank, yeah.
Partner.
Yeah, partner with. You got to be careful, legal distinction there.
Partner with a bank. Okay.
But you could. So at the time, this was 2 years ago. Yeah. You go directly to a bank, and in which case they're not really well versed in working with startups, and they wanted to have millions of dollars to work with them. There are a few companies that had emerged that were in the business of connecting startups with banks to work with. And these companies, because they were doing it, they had the compliance teams, they have everything, and their whole business was connecting banks with startups. We raised $500,000. So we had to have enough money to where they wanted to work with us. But because they were kind of this middleman and they make it a lot easier, that's who we ended up going with. Today, there are a lot of these types of companies now. There's probably 8 to 10 maybe, companies that their whole business is to connect banks with startups. There's a lot of regional banks in the country. That's not the Chases, the Wells Fargo of the world that are doing this, because they just doesn't move the needle for them. A lot of regional banks in Tennessee or the Midwest that have consumer branches that they're just not that big.
Yeah.
And so they realized, hey, if we partner with companies that are raising millions of dollars, spending a lot on advertising, and we can work with them, they're bringing us the youth, the customers.
Yeah.
This is a better strategy.